Okay, here we go. Okay, good morning, guys. This is the first topic for the second partial, week 1, day 3. Remember to leave an empty space at the top and at the very right corner to write the date. Today is October the 29th, 2021. As usual, we're going to begin with some definitions. The first definition that we have is inequality. So what is an inequality? Just like an equation, it is a mathematical sentence, but an inequality compares values of two expressions using an inequality sign. We have 4 types of inequality signs, okay? The first one is less than. Second one is greater than. Then we have less than or equal. It compares two values that are either less or it is equal. And greater than or equal. As well, it could be greater or it could be equal. The difference is that the first two mean that they are open. It is an open sentence, okay? What is an open sentence? It's a sentence that does not include the value. So how are we going to graph it? We are going to graph it with an open circle. We saw this last school year. Less than or equal and greater than or equal are closed. It means that it includes the value that we are graphing. So you're going to graph it with a painted circle, okay? What is the solution of an inequality? The solution of an inequality is any number that makes an inequality true, okay? Any number, just like the solution of an equation, it is the value that makes the equation true. Well, in this case, it is the value that makes the inequality true. Inequalities are graphed in a number line. Inequalities that have one variable are graphed in a number line. And dependent of the inequality sign, it will be the side to which the shade will extend. Why do we have a shade? So an example would be, let's say that we have x is greater than 3. Pretend that it is x greater than 3. What numbers are greater than 3? Well, there are a lot of numbers that are greater than 3. So the solution of the inequality will include all of those numbers that are greater than 3. For example, 3.1, 4, 5, 5.75, 6.11, 7.3333, number 5, which is 3.14, 15, 9, and a lot of more numbers. Okay, so every single number is greater than 3. So that's why we are going to shade from the number line all the way to the numbers that are greater. But this is open because it is greater than. So we're going to graph it in red. Okay, that color means that we're going to graph it in red. And since it is open, we graph it on top of the number. Okay, before we graph it, just remember that we usually have right in the middle, number 0. To the right, we have the positive numbers. And to the left, we got the negative numbers. Okay, so in this case, we need to graph the indentations that will define every single number. And this will be 3. So we're going to graph 3 over here. And we are saying that it is greater. So how do we determine when it is greater? Okay, so the graph says it is greater. Now look at this sign, greater. It appears to be or resembles to this arrowhead. You see, it is basically the same sign that we have. Since it is the same sign or the arrowhead looks like that, it will tell us that we are going to paint or shade to this side of the graph. Because to this side of the graph is where you're going to find all the numbers that are greater than 3. So we can say that we have, for example, here number 4. It is greater than 3. Number 5, number 6, number 7, all of those are greater than 3. So the arrowhead is the one that will let us know to which side we graph, okay? It has to be resemble or has to have a resemblance to our inequality sign. That's example number 1. Let's say now example number 2. Y is less than or equal to -2. So this is -1 and this is -2. Now, we're going to graph it in green. But as you can see, this is less than or greater, meaning that it is closed. So we're going to graph it with the closed or painted circle. So we're going to paint on the inside of the circle. Okay, now we're going to see to which side are we painting? Are we shading? Are we shading to the right or to the left? So let's see to which arrowhead it resembles. So it is pointing, the corner is over here on the left side. This has a corner on the right, but this arrowhead has the corner on the left side as well. So what does that tell us? It tells us that we're going to shade to this side, because to this side is where we have all of the numbers that are less than -2, but also -2 is painted because it is or equal. So that's why it is painted. It is included in the solution. In this case, 3 is not included because 3 is not greater than 3, but -2 is less than or equal to -2. And this is how we graph the solution. Once that we get the inequalities solved with some steps that I'm going to show you right now, which we saw also last school year, we will be able to determine to which side we graph. Okay, so let's continue reading. What does it say? It says, how to solve an inequality. We are using all of the same steps, rules, and laws used when solving equations, meaning we always use inverse operations, and we will be careful of loss of signs. We will also be using distributive property if necessary. Remember, whenever we see a parenthesis, it tells us that that's the first thing that we need to solve with distributive property. And however, even though we're following all of that, we have 3 specific rules to take into account. The first rule is that variables will always go on the left side. So if you got variables on the right, it doesn't matter if it's the greatest one, you're going to pass it to the left. And all constants will go on the right side, always, okay? Then the third rule is one of the most important rules when we're solving inequalities. When a negative number passes multiplying or dividing from the left to the right, we will flip or reverse the inequality sign. That's what we're going to do. We're going to reverse the inequality sign. Now I'm going to move you to the other side of my screen, and we're going to solve these 2 inequalities. Before we do so, I just want you to remember with like emojis. If you have a yawning face, it means it is open, okay? If you have a yawning face, but with wrinkles and a closed mouth, it means that this is closed, okay? What does that mean? This means open, this means closed. Okay, now how do we know to which side we're going to paint? According to the arrowheads, we're gonna paint to the right if it's greater than or equal. And we're gonna paint or shade to the left if it's less than or equal. You can see it resembles the arrowhead. Take that into account since that's the very first thing that we're going to determine. So exercise 1, 2x plus 6 is less than 4x plus 22. Open or closed? Open or closed?
Open.
Open, correct. So I'm going to write the word open over here, so I don't forget to graph it open at the end. Okay, this is not necessary. I use it so I can remember it. I would like and appreciate if you do so. So let's answer that. Remember, according to the rules, all constants need to be on the right side and all variables on the left. Do we have that like that? Do we have all of our variables on the left and all of our constants at the right? Do we? Or do we need to move something?
We have to move.
We need to move. So we're going to move the 6x to the right, and it is positive. So how does it go?
Negative.
Negative. And now this for x, since it is the one with a variable, also goes to the left, and it goes
Negative.
negative as well. Okay, so let's continue. So now we're going to have the 2x was already at the left, minus 4x, less than the 22 that was already at the right, minus the 6 that I'm moving. And now I'm going to simplify that. 2x minus 4x, how much is that?
Negative 2x.
Negative 2x.
Negative 2x, less than 22 minus 6. Say it out loud. Open your microphone.
16.
16.
16. Exactly. Now we're going to use inverse operations just like when we were solving equations. So this negative 2 needs to go to the other side doing what? In order to leave the variable completely unknown.
Dividing.
Dividing. But what else? It is negative. The number that's passing to the other side is negative. So what does that mean? It means that we're going to have to reverse the inequality sign. So it will no longer be less than. Now it is greater than. So that's why I'm writing it in red right now. So you can see that now it is greater than 16 divided by negative 2. And we're going to solve that. How much is 16 divided by negative 2?
Eight.
16 divided by
Negative 8.
Negative 8.
negative 8. Correct. So you see, it is 8 greater than negative 8. And are we done? Is that my final answer?
No, we have to graph it.
We have to graph it. Okay, remember, inequalities need to be graphed always. So we're going to draw our number line with the arrowheads. Arrowheads are one of the most important things in your number line. And we're going to draw a little line wherever you want. Okay, we are not going to write the 0 and then just go ahead and place the other numbers. I don't care about that number right now. I just care that you know how to graph. So I'm going to say that this is negative 8. So you see, I'm not graphing all of the numbers. I'm just graphing 8. And we're going to graph it in blue. So we said it was open. So we're going to open circle on top of it. And now we're going to shade. The shade, we decided until we have the very final answer. So x is greater than negative 8. Look at the arrowheads on the number line. To which side should we shade? To the left or to the right?
Right.
To the right, correct. So I'm going to shade to the right. That's why you needed a color and a ruler. And now that is the very, very final answer for your exercise. You clear? Questions so far? Awesome. Okay,
I have a question, Miss.
tell me.
When we flip the sign, when the number we pass to the other side dividing, we don't have to put the number positive.
No, we keep the sign. We just reverse the inequality sign. The sign of the number remains. See, it was negative 2. Since it goes dividing, you keep the sign. Okay, you don't change the sign because it was not going added. It goes divided. Okay, so you keep the sign.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, very good. Now, exercise 2. Negative 6 parenthesis x minus 4 close parenthesis greater than or equal to 7 parenthesis 2x minus 3. What is the first step for us to solve this exercise?
Distributive property.
Distributive property, exactly. Why? Because we have parentheses. Remember, whenever we have a parenthesis, it tells us that our very first step is to do distributive property. Not add or subtract or anything, solve the distributive property. So that's what we're going to do. we're going to multiply this -6 times the x and times the -4. And at the other side, the right side, we're also going to apply the distributive property of 7 with the parentheses. And we have -6 times x,
6x.
negative 6.
6x.
Exactly, -6x. Don't forget about the sign. -6 times -4,
24.
24.
positive 24. Greater than or equal, I'm going to place that or equal later, 7 times 2x,
14x.
14x.
14x, 7 times -3,
Negative.
Negative
21.
21.
-21. Okay, now I'm going to place the or equal sign. That's why I have those lines in there. Okay, let's continue. Now, we're going to apply the 3 rules where constants go on the right and on the right and variables on the left. So we're going to move, okay, whatever we need to move. So before we do that, let me give one extra space. And apparently I will need to erase that one. And place it again over here. Okay, so what were we going to move? We're moving the 14x to the left. It was positive, so it goes negative. And the 24, which it was positive, it also goes negative. So we're gonna have -6x minus 14x is greater than or equal to -21 minus 24. And we're going to simplify this before we can continue. -6x minus 14x, how much is that?
Negative 20x.
-20x, very good. Greater than or equal, -21 minus 24, how much is that?
Negative 3.
No. Negative 21,
43.
negative,
I mean, negative 45.
-45. Because both of them are negative, so we add and we keep the sign, so -45. Now, the next step is to leave the variable completely alone. So this -20 goes to the other side,
Dividing.
dividing, and since it is negative, what should we do?
Flip.
Reverse the inequality sign, correct? We're going to reverse the inequality sign. So now it will not longer be greater than or equal, it will be less than or equal, okay? So x is less than or equal to -45 divided by -20. Can we simplify that? Can we simplify 45 and 20? Negative, both? Yeah, by what number? By number 5. We can simplify it using the number 5 in both of them and multiplying the signs. And that's what we're going to do. We're going to say x is greater than, less than or equal. We're going to place the or equal in a bit. Negative times negative, positive. 45 divided by 5,
9.
9. Over 20 divided by 5,
4.
4.
4. And we're going to place what we're missing. We're missing the or equal. And we're missing the fraction bar. Now, question. Should I leave it like that? Should I pass it to a mixed number? Should I pass it to a decimal? What do you think we should do before graphing? Nothing. We'd leave it like that because we're just placing in a little line of our number wherever we find it suitable. So I'm going to say that this is 9/4. Now remember, 9/4 is actually 2.25 or 2/1/4, but it doesn't matter. We leave it as a fraction, okay? Always leave your answers as a fraction if your inequality does not have a decimal, okay? So we're gonna say, we didn't talk about that. Was this open or closed? See, we forgot about that at the beginning. Open or closed?
Closed.
Close.
Closed. So that means we're gonna shade it and circle, the circle as well. We're gonna say this is 9/4 and we're gonna paint it, okay? The circle needs to be painted. Now, to which side are we shading? To the left or to the right? To the left,
To the
correct.
left.
We're gonna graph it to the left. And now that, once that you shade it, that is the final answer of the inequality. Your inequality is not complete if you do not draw or graph your inequality and if you don't shade it. Okay, so with that said, what is the name of today's topic?
Graphing inequalities.
More than graphing, solving. What type of inequalities? Multi-step
Multi-step
inequalities.
inequality.
That, boys and girls, is the first topic for the second partial. Do you have any question whatsoever? We good? Okay then. Just remember, there are 3 specific rules that you need to follow before simplifying anything else. Besides that, if there's a parenthesis, then that's the first step to do. Use the distributive property. And with that said, we've finished our first topic.